Of similar incidents that sadly we've had to deal with in Gauteng alone. It was in July of 2024 when a private scholar minibus that was carrying pupils from Rocklands Primary and another school was hit from behind by a bakkie. It subsequently overturned and caught fire. In that accident, 12 pupils actually died. The driver also losing his life. 7 other learners were seriously injured and rushed to hospital. That particular accident was considered one of the deadliest scholar transport incidents in the province in recent years. And back then, in July of 2024, there were calls to overhaul the scholar transport sector in order to improve safety and have stricter vehicle and driver checks. And here we are, just over a year later, dealing with another scholar transport accident that's also claimed 12 lives. Before then, in October of 2022, a scholar transport bus that was carrying pupils from Wedela Technical High School also lost control and overturned. In that accident, 2 pupils were killed, 63 others were injured. The driver reportedly had fled the scene at the time. The incident drew the attention of Gauteng law enforcement agencies and the government. And once again, there were calls and attention to try improve road safety. Another accident that took place in early 2024, a grade 6 pupil from Mudisele Primary School in Garankuwa died after falling from a moving scholar transport bus and was subsequently overrun by the vehicle, by the wheels of another vehicle. That incident raised concerns about vehicle safety and supervision for learners who are on board scholar transport itself. Again, questions will be raised about what was done to improve the situation. More recently, in July of 2025, in Montgomery Park, that's near Randburg, a scholar transport minibus taxi overturned near West Park Cemetery during the early morning rush hour peak period. Around 20 pupils in that particular accident were wounded. The driver was apparently under the influence of alcohol at the time and was arrested. No fatalities were reported in that crash, but of course it has highlighted this ongoing issue of driver conduct and vehicle operations. I mean, we can really go on and on and on to try to highlight for you just how often we arrive at this situation where there are scholar transport vehicles that are involved in these accidents in ways, after investigations, that we understand were preventable, quite frankly. I need to, of course, stress that we don't want to jump the gun. We don't really know what the circumstances surrounding this particular crash are. What we have been told, at least from preliminary investigations, that it seems it was a head-on collision involving a scholar transport vehicle and a truck. The driver of the truck, we understand, has fled the scene, and that lends itself into a criminal investigation. Typically, police will then open a case of defeating the ends of justice because, of course, there'll be many questions that I imagine would be posed to somebody in that particular position. And there's real speculation at this very early stage around what might have happened. We're told that the driver of the scholar transport itself is among the 4 people who are still fighting for their life after sustaining those critical injuries in the wake of what took place around 7:30 today. The education MEC in Matume Chilwane arrived at the scene. He was in fact at a different school where the department is rolling out a campaign to push back against bullying at this start of the 2026 academic year. And upon hearing what happened, quickly changed his diary and rushed to the scene that you're now seeing on your screen to try ascertain what has happened. Our reporter on the ground telling us that he too is too distraught and is not able to engage us at the moment. But of course, there's a real task that lies ahead for him, given the role that he has to play in ensuring that there's overall safety and security in the department he leads in Gauteng. As we were taking in what was taking place in the Vaal on the Golden Highway, the Human Rights Commission was delivering the findings of their own investigation into the state of scholar transport in the Northwest. And I'm just going to take you through some of their main findings as we stay with the visuals from the Vaal in Vanderbijl Park. The Human Rights Commission finding that in the Northwest, thousands of pupils are not receiving scholar transport due to a whole host of issues, including budgetary constraints. We're told that there is chronic overcrowding, poor conditions of these vehicles as well, which lend themselves to systemic and persistent failures, indicating that there are deep-rooted problems in the sector. The Human Rights Commission goes on to find that qualifying students have therefore been excluded from using scholar transport, and that means they miss out on teaching and learning. There are frequent mechanical breakdowns in these cars. Many of them are operating with expired license discs, leaking petrol or no petrol at all is some of the issues that they found. The problems have been attributed to failures in the local government. Of course, we know that at a local government level, officials there are meant to be involved in the planning, the implementation, and oversight of scholar transport. And this is, I think, the important piece of information from the Human Rights Commission's findings in the Northwest, saying that these failures constitute human rights violations, including the right to education, to safety and security, as well as the right to protection from neglect and abuse. As a result, the Human Rights Commission in the Northwest, insofar as scholar transport is concerned, has given the following directives. In the next 60 days, we're told the department must submit a progress report to deal with these identified failures, as well as any kind of consequent management measures that will be implemented. In 90 days, they should establish a functional complaint center to ensure that people can report issues without being victimized. And in 180 days, they should review and amend their policy in order to close the gaps and improve this framework. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the Northwest insofar as scholar transport is concerned, and I imagine a lot of that can also be transferred to the Gauteng province as well. Thabiso Radebe is our reporter who's been keeping a close eye on the situation since we learned of what's taken place, and he joins us now live once again. And Thabiso, we're seeing that you're a bit closer now to the scene of the accident itself, where presumably the truck that was involved in this crash is now in frame.
Sayanda, we are closer now, although we are still trying to negotiate our way through with the SAPS. As you can see the scene here, this is the taxi that got involved in the accident earlier on in the morning. And I'm just going to ask my VJ to pen. Here's the truck on our right-hand side of the road. This truck that crashed with this particular taxi. Fortunately, the bodies have been taken to those have been taken to the government mortuary, and the police are still trying to comb the scene. Investigators are here trying to investigate and what really caused, because those reports that we were talking about earlier on, it was only the preliminary report. Police telling us about the overtaking is the cause of this particular accident. Police are coming to this particular truck to gate because we were told that the truck driver he fled the scene immediately after the accident. But the road, the R553, is currently closed. It's near Mital or ISCO, formerly ISCO, where this particular accident happened. It's in Vanderbilt Park on the Golden Highway, and fortunately the Gauteng medical services are also trying to assist some of the families, parents who are emotional, were overwhelmed, who are traumatized, especially after seeing their children. You will recall that police were trying to prevent them from coming next to, closer to where the accident happened. Fortunately, they fought on and ran to the scene where it happened, where this taxi was lying, and unfortunately they were overwhelmed by emotions when they started seeing their children on that particular taxi, because some of them were trapped. Some of them were trapped inside the taxis. There has to be a jaws of life to sort of cut off the taxi to take out those particular bodies. Ayanda?
In Vaal Park, where of course we've seen that accident that's taken place where 12 pupils have died, 4 others left in a critical condition. Still, some families arriving to see for themselves what might have taken place, and we've seen many of them really overtaken by grief and emotions as they catch sight of we understand what we understand, 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 what we understand.
All right, thank you very much to my colleague Ayanda Nyati. Now you're watching On Point. Those are still the live visuals from the devastating accident. Our reporter Thabiso is on the ground for us to bring us the very latest. 12 learners have died following a crash involving a minibus taxi transporting them to school on the Vaal in Gauteng. 4 other learners are said to be in a critical condition. President Cyril Ramaphosa has expressed his sadness at the loss of life this morning. He's also expressed his sadness at the loss of life and violence on the Cape Flats, where at least 26 people died during a 24-hour period over the weekend. But most certainly, very devastated parents as we look at those visuals, trying to come to terms with just what they've heard. 12 children, it's the beginning of the academic year, and their children have lost their life just the second week. They haven't even actually completed 7 days having gone to school in Paul. Very devastating news. Our heart goes out to those parents.
Absolutely. Emotions are running high, as you can imagine, as we bring you those live visuals of parents who have been left devastated, trying to piece the elements together and, of course, getting a sense of what may have transpired. The children were on their way to school this morning when the crash occurred on what appears to be a very narrow road near Vaal Park, a route notorious for reckless truck driving. We do understand that the driver of the scholar transport has sustained critical injuries. Among those injured and, of course, rushed to hospital. Live visuals of a devastating tragedy.